What is up, Raptors Nation? It is Luca here, back with a video. The Raptors season is almost here. The Raptors will begin their regular season against the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. Super excited. I know there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the season. The team entering what Darko Rajakovic called year one of the rebuild. So, to talk about what to expect going into this 30th anniversary season for the Raptors, I'm bringing in my guy, Ron Gutterman, Raptors Nation and Lakers Nation writer. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm excited that the NBA season's back. It's been cool to just like talk about all these teams and just have something to talk about that's not like transactional, that's just actual basketball being played. It's very exciting times.
You look at this team, Ron, the Raptors, clearly they're rebuilding. They made that a point of emphasis, trading away OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, really centering this franchise around Scotty Barnes. And they've done that, bringing in the pieces that they have. It's a young team. First, I want to ask you about Scotty Barnes because I think with him, there's going to be a lot of expectations for him. Like he's coming off a huge third year with this team, but his fourth season, you want to still see that development. And what's new about this season for him is this is going to be his first full season being the guy, being the leader. And he's talked about wanting to be more of a leader and lead by example for his teammates. What are you expecting from Scotty Barnes, especially after he just signed, the rookie scale max extension? What would you deem a successful season for Barnes going into this one?
You know, it's so tough to place where he's going to be this season because he has already shown the skill set. He is so good. He has that ceiling of being a perennial all-star type player. Like it's all there for him. I think it's very obvious to anyone who watches him play. But I also wouldn't be surprised if this year we saw kind of like a little bit of growing pains, which is weird for a player who has already developed so much and is entering his fourth year and is already a very good player. I think we are going to see some growing pains from him just because, like you said, this is the first time that he's kind of like taking over the team on his own. He is the guy. He is the leader, both emotionally and on the court. Like he is the guy that the Raptors are going to turn to. And it's also pretty clear that the Raptors are not going to win a lot of games this year. So it's how does he lead the team both on and off the court when they're not winning games, but that's not the point of the year. That's a lot to put on a guy in his fourth year. It's a lot of expectation. He's more than capable of handling it, but I think there will be some bumps in the road of maybe he won't be as efficient as he usually is. Maybe he'll have some hard times where he doesn't know quite how to lead a team just yet. Like maybe he'll have some last second opportunities to win games and he won't be able to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those things happen, but I think all of that is building towards what will be an even better Scotty Barnes at the end of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for me, I'm just interested to see how he is going to look now that he has his counterparts for a full season. RJ Barrett in the mix, Emmanuel Quickly, like those three players in particular, they've only played in 22 games together. And then if you add Grady Dick to that, it's an even smaller sample size of 4 games. So I want to see how he looks amongst these players, how they complement his skill set. If Barnes is going to be more of the facilitator, the defensive anchor, or are we going to see him kind of emerge as that go-to scorer? Because we saw times last season, like RJ Barrett emerged as the guy you give the ball to, and he puts his head down, gets to the rim, obviously on very efficient shooting numbers. Hopefully, he can continue that. But for Barnes, it will be interesting to see how he kind of fits with everything over a full sample size. I look at him as a jack of all trades, and I do think he, can be this team's number one, but I want to see how he does mesh with some of these other players when you are expecting RJ and even Quickly to take a step in their game.
Yeah, and uh, I think this is fortunate for Scotty Barnes. A lot of the pieces, the ancillary pieces around Scotty Barnes are offensive minded. Emmanuel Quickly is a scorer. RJ Barrett is a scorer. Grady Dick is a scorer. None of those guys are bad defensively by any significant measure, but those are all scorers first. And so if Scotty Barnes wanted to lead by taking a step back and letting those guys run the offense while he facilitates and then he works as a defensive anchor, that would be a great step for him. But I also do think it's important that if he is going to take that leap to all-star, all-NBA type player, he does need to take command of the scoring a little bit as well. And I think that's something we'll kind of see how they balance all those things. They didn't really play a lot together, like you said, last year. And so this is kind of their chance to sort of play the balancing act. Darko Rajakovic can figure this out as well. How when does Scotty Barnes find his moments to take charge on offense, not just defense? And when does he let RJ, Emmanuel quickly, Grady Dick kind of take the reins and let them develop as well? Because those are all guys outside of maybe RJ Barrett, those are all guys that still have a lot of developing to do.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating to monitor. Let's switch gears to quickly now. He gets the big payday. Going into this season, he's got the reins. He's going to be the Raptors lead guard. And this is a new opportunity for him, right? You know, coming on over from New York, always being a bench guy now. Like, he's going to be the floor general. He's going to have a chance to really make his mark. What are you looking, you know, for quickly to accomplish this season? And what were your initial thoughts when you saw that deal that the Raptors inked him to?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Emmanuel quickly as a player. I thought that the Raptors did a great job to get him from the Knicks. I didn't think that that was going to be possible. I didn't think that the Knicks were going to part with both RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly in a deal. They clearly wanted OG Anunoby a lot. So I thought the Raptors were just really good to get that and to secure him long term because he is still young. He is still growing. And while he does have some discernible flaws in his game, I think he's not quite yet the facilitator he needs to be defensively. I think there's still some things that could be worked on. He's a great scorer though. Like he has all the tools to be a successful lead guard. And I think this Raptors team, again, while they're not great and they're not going to win a ton of basketball games, these players individually all bring so much. And it's going to be really intriguing to see how it all kind of pieces together.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when you look at Quickly and RJ, like these are very unique opportunities for them because they're coming from places where they didn't have this big of a role. If you had to put your money on one of these two players truly breaking out, because like for the Raptors, like they know they got Scotty Barnes, he could be an all-star. He proved that. But I think for this thing to work with this core, they're gonna need Quickly or RJ to develop into an all-star. That would be best case scenario. Who is more likely in your eyes to take that massive step? I'm not saying to be an all-star this season, but let's call it borderline all-star.
Yeah, right this second, I would lean RJ Barrett just because I think he has a more complete skill set. Um, for his position, he has a more complete skill set. Uh, but Emmanuel quickly, I think that kind of like his ability to score the ball is always going to keep him kind of in that conversation of he could take that leap if he just shores up a couple things here and there. But I do think RJ Barrett, as we enter this season, is a more complete player. And generally, if you're a two-way player, you are going to have those opportunities to be the leader on your team and to grow and to kind of take that leap into stardom.
Okay, let's talk about this upcoming season because the elephant in the room is the 2025 NBA draft. A lot of people saying that the Raptors they need more talent. I mean, that's not a hot take or anything. This team needs more talent. They need another potential guy who can turn into a star. So you look at how this season starts off for the Raptors, Ron, it's not going to be pretty. 20 of the Raptors' first 25 matchups are against teams that made the playoffs last season. And then you add on top of that, the Raptors are going to be entering the season with, you know, not with a fully healthy team. RJ, he hopes to go against the Cavs, but it's more likely he is going to miss a couple more games as he works his way back from the shoulder injury. Darko saying Jacoby Walter, the Raptors' first round pick, is a week behind RJ in terms of returning. Olenek has been out. He's dealing with a lingering issue. We don't know when he's going to get back. And then Bruce Brown, he's recovering from the surgery that he had in the offseason. So there's going to be some important pieces on the shelf to begin this season. How do you think the Raptors will look going up against this gauntlet? And beyond that, what do you think their plan of attack is going to be for the season? Like, do you see it a situation where if things get ugly fast, they're just going to say, okay, like our focus and priority is the 2025 NBA draft, or do you think that is their focus and priority before this thing even starts?
Yeah, it might be before. I've honestly never seen a team. I haven't seen a team since the process 76ers that has been so open about the fact that they are not really in the business of winning games this year. I mean, we saw Darko said something to that effect. Jakob Pertl said something to that
Yeah.
effect. Like, I've never seen a team so unabashedly be like, yeah, we're not really trying to win this year outside of since the process 76ers because they were criticized so much when they were doing that that teams kind of avoided those kinds of conversations for a few years. And the Raptors this year are just saying, yeah, we're not trying to win that much. And that's fine. I'm totally like, I'm pro an organization taking a direction and sticking to it. And so they're doing that this year. So I think, if they finish this 25 game gauntlet and they're 6-19 or something like that, or 5-20, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility that they start that way, I think it'll be very easy for them to just say, you know what, like, Jakob Pertl, do you want to trade? Like, do you want to go out the door? Like, Bruce Brown, you're healthy. Do you want to go out the door? Like, it's fine. We're good. We'll win 25 games this year, and we'll get a top 5 pick and hope for our lottery odds. And 2025 is a good draft.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get our answer very soon. I mean, you look at the Raptors' first 10 games, Ron, Cavaliers, 76ers, they might catch a break there because both Embiid and George may not be available for that. Nuggets, Hornets, who should be better. Lakers, Kings, Nuggets, Kings, Clippers. Like, what's their record after 10 games? Like, there's probably what,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
2, 3 wins? Like,
yeah, I mean, I would be pretty stunned if after 10 games they had more than 2 wins. Like if they were like 4-6, I think I'd be shocked.
yeah.
I would probably put it at 2-8. You probably steal one against the Hornets. The Raptors are one of those teams. There's like probably 4 or 5 teams in the NBA this year where unless they're playing each other, you can't really with confidence say they're going to win any game. And that's by design. I'm not saying the Raptors are thinking they're this great team and they're not. That's by design. But yeah, it's interesting to go into a season with that type of mindset where it's just like, yeah, we're probably not going to be favored in any game we play this year.
Yeah, it's like really, yeah, I don't see them being favored in any of these games. It depends on how the Hornets kind of start their season, but it's going to be tough sledding. But I mean, if the Raptors are going to give their best punch, it is at the beginning of the season when these better teams kind of work their way towards getting back in momentum. And the Cavaliers are going to be without Strus, who's tormented the Raptors over the years, and the 76ers will be without guys. So there is a chance the Raptors do get out of the gate swinging, but I think yeah, the first 10, even beyond that, 25, like we're gonna know quick where this Raptors team stands. Let's talk about this Raptors rotation. So starting five, you're gonna have Quickly, Grady. Hopefully RJ comes back soon. Scotty and Jakob Pertl. I'm excited to see this five together. Like this is a new look starting five for the Raptors, and I think it's a big opportunity for Grady Dick, especially. Obviously, he's got some ways to go defensively. Darko's been talking a whole ton about on-ball defense, point of attack defense, just really getting better on the defensive end because this team was not good defensively at all. What do you see from Grady Dick defensively if he's able to get better on that end, but also offensively? Because during the preseason, we've seen him be more than just that spot up in the corner 3-point shooter. He's actually done a nice job putting the ball on the deck, getting to the mid range. So I've really been pleased of that part of to his game. But where do you see his sophomore season stacking up, where he is going to have this increased role of being a starter and obviously getting a lot more minutes than he did a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, in general, all you can really hope for out of a second year player is that they look more ready to be in the league than they did their first year. And I think Grady Dick at times in his first year looked like he was ready to go. He was going to be a legit NBA player, and at times he struggled. I think year two is just about making steady improvements across the board. There is no one area in which he is like an elite guy already. He's a good spot up shooter. He's a good shooter in general, but he's not kind of in that elite category. We're looking at like, on the Lakers side, we're looking at Dalton Connect. That's like a guy who right out of the gates should be like a relatively elite 3-point shooter. Grady Dick has an all around skill. It's for him, it's about making incremental improvements across the board, not necessarily trying to be elite at any one thing because he has so much rain, he has so much rope, he has all these minutes he's going to get. He's going to be a regular starter. If he puts all his focus into trying to be a 3-point specialist and nothing more. I think that's a disservice to him in his second year. So it's just about making steady incremental improvements across the board and hoping that with this increased role, he can be, by the end of the year, a legitimate NBA player in all phases, and the Raptors can build around that.
Yeah, that's well said. And I'm personally just hoping for more consistency from Grady because the Raptors, in theory, their best 3-point shooter, they let him walk, Gary Trent Jr. This team was already bad in terms of the three ball. Hopefully they can shoot it at a much higher clip going into this season. But I think Grady's really going to be that guy to lean on in that starting lineup. He's going to get good looks when you have guys like Scotty and RJ who are going to, attack the basket, create attention. So Grady, we've seen him have those offensive outburst moments, but I want to see more of a consistent reign because there's a game where he can, look like he did in that preseason game against the Celtics, but then he falls back with his three ball. So I think for Grady, it's about being comfortable, confident, and yeah, can he be a regular, 3-point sharpshooter, but then show you other parts of his game as well. And
Mhm.
I think for him, the added size is going to help, especially when he does drive to the basket and finish in contact, which we've seen in a small sample size this season. Beyond the starting five, give me a rotation guy who you really think can be an X factor for this Raptors team that who you see just gelling right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm once he comes back from injury, I'm very intrigued to see Jacoby Walter. Um, just because I do think he's one of those guys. I mean, you want your first round picks to be to be good out of the gate, and that's definitely someone to watch. Um, I think uh, I think for the most part, you're looking at there's those younger guys, your Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, that to make those leaps, Scotty Barnes to make those leaps, Emmanuel quickly. This team doesn't really have a lot of guys outside. Like Davion Mitchell is kind of a. I know he's young and he could improve, but he's kind of one of those known commodity guys. He is what he is at this point, and maybe he'll take a leap, but it's not expected that he's going to do that. It's kind of like a Matisse Thybulle type thing where it's like you hope the 3-point shot comes around, but you just kind of know it won't. So I think for me, the big focus is what are those starters going to do, and what is Jacoby Walter going to do when he gets back?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about Mitchell. I do think he has a big opportunity here because his minutes were very inconsistent in Sacramento. He's going to be given a defined role this season. Like he is the primary backup to
Yeah.
Emmanuel quickly. So the biggest thing for him is what you just said. He's got to be able to have defenses respect his 3-point shot. If he can hit that at a decent rate, he's going to be in good shoes because we know what he brings defensively, but it's going to come down to his perimeter shooting. The guy who I'm looking forward to the most, and I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I've been hard on him a ton going back to summer league. I mean, I was basically ready to give up on the guy. I practically did. Abaji, you look at Abaji, he's 24 years old, and we know what he brings defensively, but it's the offense that has just been so frustrating at times. But in the preseason, Ron, I mean, he's shown a lot of good signs. He had a couple of nice offensive scoring outputs, which leads you to think if this guy can develop more offense and more of a consistent shot, like he can be a key rotation piece just because of how well he plays defense. So that's a guy to me, they get him in that deal, which brought obviously Olenek as well to Toronto. Can Abaji really make his mark this season, be consistent, and end up looking like a serviceable rotation piece for this Raptors team?
Yeah, I mean, you hope so. And I think the Raptors are kind of in a situation where they can give him the space to try. I think if he was still in Utah or a team that maybe was trying a little bit more to win basketball games, I don't think he would be able to do that. But he's going to have some wiggle room here to make things happen for himself, especially with some of these injuries. Like a Kelly Olynyk being out for a little bit, just some of these little Bruce Brown being out for a little bit. Like he's going to have opportunities in the rotation, especially at the beginning of the year. And if he can show any type of development, like you're saying, like he showed a little bit of in the preseason, uh, he could stick around. But I think he probably knows that this is one of his last opportunities. Like if he
Yeah.
can't figure out a way to be effective when he's given this much wiggle room and this much space to operate, then you're not really sure where it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. So there's definitely some motivation there, and that could lead to some type of development from him.
Yeah, like he's gonna start the season in all likelihood in the starting lineup as long as RJ's out. He had those starters minutes in the preseason, showing a lot of good things. So hopefully for him, yeah, he can get into a rhythm, show consistency. Because yeah, if you can't figure it out in a rebuilding situation in this under these circumstances, it's not looking good for his career. And I mean, he's still relatively young, 24 years old. Like that's he still has a lot of growing to do as well. So all right, Ron, when you look at this team, where do you ultimately see them finishing in the Eastern Conference? Do you see them out of the plan, in the plan, surprise team? Where do you see this team ranking?
Yeah, I definitely see them not making the play-in tournament. I definitely see them in that bottom five. I'm trying to figure out exactly where in that bottom five I see them.
Yeah, because I'm
Uh,
interested by that. Because like I have the Raptors in the 10 spot or 9 spot. So what are your rankings in the East? What teams do you think do better than the Raptors? Because the East, as we know, the bottom of it is really, really bad.
yeah, yeah. I think so I think your top six, your guaranteed playoff teams are Boston, New York, uh, Orlando, Philly, Cleveland, Milwaukee. I think your play-in is some form of Miami, Indiana, uh, Miami, Indiana, Chicago, and that's and then probably Atlanta.
Atlanta, I got Atlanta in the plan too. Yeah.
And then from there, there's kind of that leaves a bottom five of Detroit, uh, Washington, Toronto, Charlotte, and Brooklyn. So I think those are kind of your three tiers. I don't really see the Raptors as being better than any one of those four play-in teams that I mentioned: Atlanta, Chicago, Miami, Indiana. I don't really see them being better than it. So they could finish 11th, but I think they're going to finish somewhere in that bulk of awful at the bottom with Brooklyn and all those teams.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And again, what's going to be a huge factor is how they get off to the season, like what the record's going to look like. Again, they're playing all these tough teams at the beginning. If they somehow survive it, the back end of their schedule is very favorable. So that's actually where they could do a lot of their damage. If you're talking about this team getting a playing spot, I think they're for sure going to be in the playing race. There is a bunch of teams that are kind of unknowns. I think Atlanta gets a playing spot, but then that 10th and final playing spot, I think it could go to yeah, a Chicago team, but you know, where are they going to be at? Are they going to continue to blow it up and trade away
Yeah.
some other key pieces? That's why they're an unknown to me. I think the Hornets are intriguing because that's a team I could see getting better from a season ago. Even Detroit, like I don't know what to expect from them. So I think the Raptors will be gunning for that final playing spot. But yeah, like what I said previously, I think best case for this team, 9th spot, worst case 12th, then yeah, they're in that, you know, maybe they're in a running
Yeah.
for a bottom five record and they can get a top five pick. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those things that like fans are expecting it to be a rocky season, but I think you just want to see this team make slight improvements in areas, just get better and really see the core of this team mesh because we didn't necessarily see that last season with how many guys were out due to injury.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and again, it's almost better. Like you're talking about a fan expectation, like they're expecting it to be Rocky. I think uh, fans are okay. They root for Rocky if they know it's coming. I think you'll find, and Toronto's always had a good fan base, but I think Raptors fans will get behind a team that's like bad on purpose because it's building towards something. They'll root for the successes of Grady and Jacoby Walter and Scotty Barnes and these guys. I think this is going to be, while I don't think they're very good and I don't think they're going to win a lot of basketball games. Like I think there's going to be some fun in Toronto this year.
If you had to give one Raptors player the best chance of winning an award, who would it be and why?
Winning an award,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's Scotty. Scotty, I don't, not really sure what award would be out there. I mean,
I would
he
probably think
could.
most improved player would definitely be
Yeah,
the
like
one.
that could go to Scotty if he really takes like a star leap and becomes almost an all NBA caliber guy.
Yeah.
I could see that for him. The Jacoby, I think, if depending on how much time he misses, the rookie of the year race this year is wide open because this wasn't a good draft class by a lot of metrics. So that could be, but I think just if the NBA media is gonna hand the Toronto Raptors an award this year, it probably would be Scotty Barnes.
And that's going to be awfully tough to do looking at most improved player because obviously Wemby is the overwhelming favorite. At least the Raptors, Ron, they are going to have some fun moments celebrating the 30 years they've been in the league. Vince Carter, they're going to be honoring him, retiring his jersey on November 2nd against the Kings. First ever jersey retired by this franchise. So there are going to be things to look forward to, and we'll see how this team looks in between of that. But Ron, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find your work?
Yeah, I'm working on Lakers Nation, Dodger Blue, Raiders, Rams, all the sites that we do, and that's my Twitter handle right there, so you can find me there.
Well, guys, thanks so much for watching. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Definitely going to have Ron on again during the season as we chop up all things Raptors. That is it for me. Luke sign off. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you all again in the next one.